Hey guys, still there. Welcome to the War Room. This will be episode 41, so I've already done a lot of these things. And I hope you're still watching, hope you're still enjoying them, as I think they have been getting better over time. Now, what have I been up to last week, this week, and what can you expect? Well, as mentioned in last week's War Room, I'm having a bit of a clash with my internet provider, or at least the switch from one internet provider to the next is proving to be a little bit more cumbersome than I had expected. The combination that I had was cable. So this is TV cable that comes out of your wall pretty much in the living room. I had the whole router set up there. I had the whole thing with wired networking to make sure I got the best speed. And all was well in the land of internet and uploading. Especially when you're running a YouTube channel, uploading is of course important. Now, thought that provider got a little bit too expensive, and I was paying about, I think, $600 a year for that, if not more. So I started looking around for other providers. Now I came up to another provider which was still using phone wire, so that's copper wire. And I thought, well, they are cheaper, they can offer almost the same stuff, albeit that the speed is 100 Mbit per second. Now note that that is always something that you have to be on the lookout for with providers. Mbit, so M with a small b, is not the same as an M with a big B. MB, large B, means megabyte per second. Megabit per second is 1/8 of that. So if you have a provider that says you're going to get 100 Mbit per second in download speed, then you need to divide that by 8, and you're going to get to about 12 megabyte per second. This is something that is usually not made very clear, and that is something that they sometimes use to even trick you up. Anyway, switch providers. Cancelled the old one, which was pretty easy, but the communication was terrible, so I thought that I had cancelled it, and then they said, no, you haven't cancelled it, and then 2 days later, all of a sudden, the internet connection that I thought was still active just fell out of the sky, and I had to switch to the new system. Now, the new system is supposedly going to give me 100 Mbit, so 12 megabyte per second. Perfect speed for what I want to do with it, download, watch Netflix, watch other stuff. Yeah, unfortunately I'm not quite getting that speed. This is of course what you can be expecting when you're switching internet providers. You are never going to get the speed that they promise, or at least not initially. So my speed is only 43 Mbit per second, which is, well, literally 43% of what it should be. So I called the help desk and I said, look guys, this is the problem, you're not delivering what we had agreed on, what can you do? And of course these service providers then start to help out, and they say, oh yeah, let's have a look at your connection, let me access the modem from over here, see if that makes any difference. No, we're getting the same reading. Okay, let me send you a different cable. Because apparently the cable or the wire that I was using was the wrong one. I said, well, that's wonderful, but you sent the wrong one in the first place. Yeah, well, mistakes were made. So, they sent me a new cable. They sent me the wrong one, again. Of course, my internet speed at that point was still very low, and that's why, whereas normally I just upload videos during the day and keep my computer pretty much, let's say, on cooldown during the night, right now I had to keep it active throughout the night in order to upload those, well, usually quite large data files. I think an average video of Wargame is about 5 to 10 gigabytes, so it's really starting to notice if your upload speed drops by 70%. Anyway, they sent me the right cable 2 days later, and nope, still the same thing. Still the same problem, still got the slow speed. So I phoned them again, and I said, look guys, you now sent me the right cable, but I'm still not getting the right speed. Oh, okay, let me just connect to your modem, and of course I got a different guy at that time, who could look into the file, and I think he did, but I had to go through all the same steps with him again. Now, I'm getting pretty handy with talking to these support desks, so When I call them, I say, hey, this is me, I live there and there, this is my address. The person who's actually the holder of the subscription is someone else. That is, in fact, my girlfriend because she's the main renter of the place. This is her birthday, etc. And then we go through the whole circus again. He checked the internet speed. He said, yeah, I'm sorry, that's not the right thing that you should be getting. This is all very annoying, isn't it? I thought, yeah, no shit. So what I did was getting pretty much put through to something called commercial services, which is apparently, from what I understood it, a service which is separate. It's going to call me back, and they're basically going to change the way that the subscription is structured, I think. They're going to adjust the type of service level agreement that I have down to the one that is cheaper, which is not at all what I want, because it's going to not give me the same speed. And considering that we're running 2 companies and 1 YouTube channel from this address, it is rather important that I get the right speed. But yeah, switching internet providers, the story goes on. And hopefully this week we're going to see exactly where it turns out. And all of this because I thought I was going to save a couple $100 a year. Well, the good part is I've gotten HBO out of it, which I gotta say I'm quite enjoying. There's quite some interesting movies that I haven't seen yet, some of the later movies that are shown on HBO, such as Interstellar. I gotta say Interstellar was, let's say, promised as one of those fantastic movies, but I found it a bit meh. It was okay, but 3 hours? And it does pose some very, very interesting questions. That is definitely the case. If you wanna really start having gravity and time mess with your mind, then have a look at that movie, Interstellar, from I believe 2014. Anyway, what else did I do last week? Went to quite a few movies, in fact. I have I believe it's called an unlimited card for a local cinema chain, which means that anywhere in the Netherlands I can visit the cinema and you pay, I believe, €20 a month. And then you can go to any movie you want as often as you want. So you could go every night if you wanted to. I was away with my girlfriend a couple of days last week. And we went to see quite a few movies. One of them was Tarzan, which was okay. I wouldn't have picked it myself, but she wanted to go. And yes, of course there's people going to be in the comments going, yeah, you have a fiancé now, get it through your head. Yeah, I know. It's just paper, it's just a different description, but it's still the same girl, so whatever. Tarzan was pretty good. Big Friendly Giant, or the BFG, if that is in your local cinema, check that out. It's a really, really fun movie. If you ever heard of Roald Dahl, the British, I think, children books writer, and you enjoyed his stuff, then definitely go check that out, because it has some really, really fun material. And finally, Me Before You. If you enjoyed, what's it called again, The Untouchables or Les Intouchables, then be sure to visit that movie as well. It is, it's not an action movie in any stretch of the imagination, but it focuses heavily on what do you want to get out of life, which is portrayed in this movie in a very, very fun way. So definitely have a look at that one. Something else that I have been realizing more and more as I was reading a book, and also I picked up a new game. I picked up From the Depths, which I got for the mighty sum of only €4, since it was, and I believe still is, on sale. The thing that I've been realizing is stuff just takes time to learn. Now, of course, this is nothing new, but it's something that I don't think we often realize enough. Especially a couple of years ago, I was starting to realize that when you get a new game, especially if it has slightly different controls or a different aim than what you're usually used to, it's going to take time. And the first couple of hours, usually, for a game are just not that interesting. They can be really, really tough, because you have to learn all this stuff. You have to learn the controls, you have to learn the gameplay mechanics, you have to learn what works and what doesn't. And let's face it, that's part of the fun, isn't it? That is part of the thing that makes you want to continue playing. Because if you would just be an expert player right from the start, and I don't think there would be much challenge. Similarly, if you compare that to my, well, I'm not going to say problem, but my issue with Armored Warfare is that the struggle of trying to unlock the new stuff, so basically trying to learn and trying to improve, is what keeps you going in these games. Same for World of Warships, same for World of Tanks, same for War Thunder. But if you lose that struggle, if that thing is suddenly done, then you may very well get bored with the game. And you may be thinking, well, yeah, it's not all too interesting. It's not really all that challenging anymore, so you're just going to stop. Now, from the depths, the game that I bought is one of those, let's say, Minecraft-inspired games, but it's much, much more than that. It's a bit similar to Space Engineers as well, so it's one of those building games. And you can build anything from ships, submarines, structures, aircraft, zeppelins, whatever you want to build. You can basically build it in that game and then pit it against AI players, or humans if you prefer, so other players, and see how it performs. Now, initially, I think the first 20 hours, I was like, what the hell am I doing? I have no idea. But I kept that in the back of my mind. The first couple of hours, they're going to suck. They're going to not be really, really enjoyable. They're not going to be fun. Stuff is not going to work the way you expect it to. Stuff is not going to go your way. And I thought, okay, it's fine. We're just going to stick to it. You're going to read stuff, you're going to watch some YouTube videos, and you're just going to adapt slowly to this new game. I mean, as fast as possible, but you know that's going to take a while. So that's exactly what I did, and I'm not really sure how many hours I have into the game right now, maybe 30, 35, which just goes to show how much I've been playing that game. It's quite ridiculous, really. But it is starting to grow on me, in the sense that whereas Wargame usually tires me out after about 2 hours, I can play that game up to, I don't know, 8 hours straight, something like that, ridiculous. That's how much you can really get into the game, if you're into that type of gameplay, that is. But then again, the first couple hours, they're not going to be that good. They are going to suck. And so long as you're okay with that, so long as you realize that you are going to be really, really bad at stuff when you first get started, I think that makes it easier. I especially had this thing, this realization of, oh, this is going to hurt, when I started playing Ranked. If you haven't seen the video yet, the first video from that series went up last Friday, which was my first ever game of Ranked gameplay. So that's the Ranked type in Wargame, where you get one of these things in front of your name, such as, for example, 7 of Fine here is Sergeant, or that's the only ranked player, or the only player who has ever played Ranked in this match. And I thought, yep, this is gonna hurt. This is gonna be painful, because it's the first time that I'm playing this specific game mode. And sure enough, it was a very, very close match, very tense. But I definitely learned a lot from that. And there is going to be another ranked video Friday, which I can already tell you is it's really gonna hurt. I have never been defeated that fast. And I'll leave it to you to bet in the comments how fast I got my ass kicked, and then you can see Friday if you got that correct or not. But holy hell, I got my ass handed to me. And I know, that's okay. It's ranked, it's something new, and I of course reviewed the replay, and I had a look at what exactly the guy was fielding, what did he use, how did he beat me, and then I learned. Then I adjusted my own deck, and now I feel that I'm slowly becoming a better player. And that is, of course, always the case. That is, if you review your gameplay. But especially for Wargame, where I already have about 1,200 hours registered according to Steam, and sure enough, not all of it's gameplay, that still is interesting. That you can definitely keep improving. It's just the way that you set your mind to it. Now, something completely unrelated, but something that is Nevertheless, grabbing my attention is something called Black Stories. Black Stories is a little, I'm not going to say card game, but I suppose it is sort of analytical game. It works like this. You have two teams, and you can even do this with two players. One is going to be a sort of riddler or riddle master. And the other person is going to be, I believe the term is riddle folk, or the person who's going to solve the riddle. Now, the person who wants to solve it can only ask questions which can be answered by yes or no. So you have to be really, really specific in your line of questioning. And the trick is that these stories are, well, they're possible, they're not entirely likely to happen, and you really need to work for it. And the thing that you're basically fighting throughout the game is yourself. It's your own assumptions. For example, and this, by the way, is something that I challenge my girlfriend to, or she challenges me when she has a story and I have to solve it. There was this... Okay, this is one of those situations that you're going to be given from one of the cards. It says, okay, a woman sells the sports car, which in this case was a Porsche from her husband, for 500 euros or dollars, whatever. Why? And then you, as the person who has to solve it, has to start asking questions. But the first thing that most people come to think is that, oh well, she might be jealous, and she might be thinking that the husband is spending way more time with the car than he is with her. That might be a reason for her to sell the vehicle. It might be. So then you start asking. But your first assumption is that it's a real car, which doesn't have to be the case. If this was a sports car on a scale model, then 500 euros for, let's say, a sports car on a scale of, I don't know, let's say it's about a meter long, that wouldn't be unrealistic. But you don't know that, so don't assume stuff like that. And that is something that this game does so incredibly well. It challenges you to challenge your own assumptions. And unfortunately, I was thinking of a way to basically challenge you guys to fix it, but either it's going to be online, the solution, and someone's just going to paste it into the comments, or you cannot you cannot ask questions, only through comments, of course. But here goes. The story is called Terminal Taxi, and the story is Tim gets into a taxi. When the driver opens the door for him at the train station, Tim falls out of the vehicle dead. Why? Now, if you want to be a game breaker, then by all means go ahead and look up the story online. It's probably posted somewhere. But if you want to actually challenge yourself, then feel free to ask questions in the comments down below, so I can answer yes or no. And let's see how smart you guys really are. Let's see how smart the questions are that you guys can ask. And I'll be sure to answer yes or no in a comment to your question. So that's something that's been keeping me busy as well. And the fun part is that you don't really have to sit down for these mind games. You can just do them whether you're driving, whether you're chatting, whether you're shopping, which is what I was doing last week. We were having dinner together. That's when we continued, or then when she continued to solve one of the puzzles. And they are really, really interesting. It's not just interesting in the sense of you watch someone struggle, but you start to get a feeling of how they think and what their assumptions are. And more importantly, if you're the one who has to solve the riddle, then you have to start challenging your own assumptions, because your assumptions are usually what's going to be in the way of finding a solution. So, that is what I have been up to last week. This week, a few more wargame things as usual. I have a ranked match coming up, as I already mentioned. That's coming up Friday. I have a wargame tactical match all set up for you for tomorrow, which is basically on this map. It's just a little bit more commentary on the actual gameplay. World of Warships coming up Wednesday. Thursday is going to be more XCOM, and Friday the ranked game. And if you guys are interested, and do let me know about that in the comments, would you like to see, I don't know, either tutorials or videos from the depths? What I've been building, what I've been struggling with. If so, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see from that game. And if you haven't picked it up and you still want to try and get it, I think the current price is $4. And that might go back up, I think, Wednesday, but I'm not entirely sure. So by the time that you're watching this, that might already have happened. It's definitely interesting. It's going to take you a while to learn, but there is also such a thing as a cooperative. You can run the campaign cooperative, and you can go up against bots with your own designs. So I might actually be running one of those games on my server, and we can basically do a gameplay of FTD together. Anyway, that's it for this week's War Room. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you are struggling with and what you want to learn or what you are learning and what you realize that might take a little longer than you had hoped. What games have you been playing lately? And if you have any questions about that riddle, be sure to ask those, and I'll be sure to answer with a simple yes or no in order to help you try and solve it. Aside from that, all I can do is wish you a good week, and I will see you soon for more videos.